Lucas catching Ionia naked in a hot spring is one of the most uncomfortable scenes in Mother 3. But hidden within all that weirdness is actually the perfect metaphor for his entire story. Ionia tells Lucas to turn around, then the screen fades to black. Don't struggle, just endure it for a little bit. Yeesh, just a little more. Okay. And when Lucas re-emerges from the water, he's stronger than before. But more importantly, we've been told exactly what his journey's about. Just like this moment, Lucas's true strength in Mother 3 is his ability to endure pain and keep moving forward. Unlike Ness, who we established in my last video as barely having a personality, Lucas actually has character to him. From the moment we start the game, we're told Lucas is the younger twin brother, a gentle boy. Time and time again, the game reminds us he's a timid crybaby, coddled by his mother Hinawa, and a direct contrast to his brother Claus, the older twin brother, an energetic boy. As the hair implies, they're mirror images of each other, a literal anagram, just like their names. So it only makes sense that they handle a tragedy in polar opposite ways. When a forest fire prevents them from getting home safely, Lucas and Claus are found washed up in a river. Wrapped in towels, they shiver side by side as Tasmili village forms a search party to find their mother. It's only when they reunite with their father Flint that they learn what happened to Hinawa. Oddly enough, she was found viciously murdered by a Drago, peaceful mountain creatures that Lucas and Claus are friends with. At her funeral, their differences come into focus. Claus vows to grow stronger and rushes off to avenge her, while Lucas stays at her grave, paralyzed in grief. But even his brother would be taken from Lucas. As far as anyone knew, Claus was never seen again. But we, the player, find out that he was ultimately killed while seeking revenge. Their father would continue searching for Claus in vain, as Lucas sinks further into despair, crying at Hinawa's grave during the day, and seeking refuge with his dog Boney during sleepless nights. While the family is consumed by these losses, they might not have stopped to realize the mysterious forces at play. The Pig Mask Army. They were behind the forest fire and the chimeras, including the Drago that killed Hinawa. These weren't just random attacks, they were lessons in fear, dragging the peaceful Nowhere Islands into chaos. As panic spreads, the army's mouthpiece Facade sells the idea of true happiness as a solution to their worries. But for someone like Lucas, whose family was torn apart, he's able to see through the manipulation. When he stumbles across the army about to attack, he signals his Drago friends for help. You'd expect Dragos to traumatize him after Hinawa's death, but to Lucas, they still represent feelings of genuine happiness, unlike the fantasy Facade was peddling. He endured the pain without letting it warp his sense of reality. Understanding the reconstructed Drago wasn't evil, just twisted into something unnatural. And now, here's a bunch of unfamiliar soldiers with strange machines, acting as that same source of corruption. Lucas doesn't need to know their names, motives, or even Facade's sales pitch. Deep down, he recognizes the threat for what it is. So for the first time, he acts, not by running, not by crying, but by calling on the Dragos to fight back. What makes Lucas unique is that he processed his feelings, unlike other characters who struggle to confront their grief head-on. Claus became consumed by revenge. Flint searches endlessly for his son. Tasmili is tempted by false happiness. The common trend is that none of them are able to face reality and move on from the opening tragedies of Mother 3. By shouldering his past, Lucas gains clarity and the strength to act. He does move forward, from the gentle, shy twin, into the unlikely hero that's best equipped to stand against the Pig Mask Army. Wes and Kumatora immediately recognize his potential. Although he doesn't speak, we get a sense of his eagerness to contribute. No, Lucas, you stay here in Tasmili. I'm certain Claus will come back sooner or later. I'd like you and Flint and the others to protect our village." The narrator's commentary perfectly captures his role at this point in the story. Despite the darkness that looms over Tasmili, a frail young boy grows ever stronger. Soon, Lucas will repaint this tale of sadness with a bright new color. The deeper the darkness, the brighter the sunrise at dawn. The once coddled Lucas is now on his way to becoming a brilliant young son. 3 years pass and the army takes full control of Tasmili. With their grip tightening, happy boxes spread. TV-like devices meant to distract people from reality. Most of the villagers openly accept changes in these desperate times because they come from a guiding hand, Facade, who continues to preach propaganda in the modernized town square. This was the goal, a world of escapism where no one notices any problems. In other words, a town of sheep that can be easily manipulated. Which makes it ironic that the only literal sheep in Tasmili are owned by Lucas's family, who obviously rejects this false paradise. But the punishment for resistance is steep. Lightning strikes down on the homes of rebels, while others are ostracized for speaking up. Lucas's home is struck so often it becomes a grim tourist attraction. One pig mask even taunts him, "You must really love being unhappy if you still refuse to get a happy box." But the truth is, he rejects the happy box because he remembers real happiness. Hinawa combing his hair, quiet moments at her grave, those memories, painful as they may be, are still genuine. That's what drives him to get out of bed each day. And you might think he still has his father, but Flint's long gone, consumed by his search for Claus, leaving Lucas as a social outcast without a safe home or support system to fall back on. As a boy, he would have been crushed under that pressure, but that earlier moment with the Drago showed Lucas that he could protect something real, and that's the lesson he carries into these 3 long years of isolation. So, with only Boney left by his side, he carries on. Among the villagers who look down on him, he finds support in Wes, someone who actually gets the situation. He speaks to Lucas about Duster, his son that went missing years ago. Rumor has it that Duster is now the bass player of the army's band, and he charges Lucas with finding out if it's true. That is the spark he needed. He knows what it's like to lose family. But to get to the club where the band plays, Lucas and Boney have to travel through a long tunnel that's been overrun with the army's chimeras. Along the way, they decide to rest up in a hot spring. Only, this one's already occupied by Ionia, one of the 7 Magypsies, who we'll talk more about later. He confuses Lucas with Claus, who the Magypsies previously gifted with the power of PK Love on his mission to avenge Hinawa. Ionia is shocked that Lucas has never heard of PSI because he's flowing with magical potential. That's when he tells Lucas to turn around and endure it for a little bit. Like I mentioned before, we don't actually get to see what's going on, not because something inappropriate happens, but because the moment is meant to be symbolic, not literal. Lucas just emerges from the water, having unlocked the ability of PK Love. But series creator Shigesato Itoi provides a bit more context from an interview with Nintendo Dream. He admits that only an adult could have written a scene like this. At first glance, it's awkward, maybe even confusing for a younger player, but that's exactly the point. Lucas is growing up, enduring something uncomfortable, and coming out the other side stronger. Itoi wanted children to feel that unease, even if they didn't fully understand it. Because later in life, they'll realize the scene was about finding strength in pain, and crossing the threshold into adulthood. Anyways, the rest of the trip is a breeze for Lucas with his newfound powers. But he can't just waltz into the club asking for Duster. It's a reward for the army's factory workers. That's when he does the unthinkable, and joins their ranks for the day. While it's played off as mundane, this is a really powerful moment for Lucas because he's willingly integrating himself into the system that destroyed his family. The job is simple: bring any malfunctioning Koimen upstairs for repairs. The claymen themselves are literal blobs of clay that are brought to life with an electric zap for the purpose of endless labor. Imagine it from Lucas's perspective. He's helping the army corrupt nature, the same way they twisted the Drago that killed his mother, all for a rumor that Duster might have been found. It really shows just how desperate he is to grab hold of any kind of authenticity in a world that's becoming more sterilized by the day. However, he's not just bending over backwards for the army. When he reaches the club, he disguises Boney as a human to slip past the no dogs rule. So he's willing to take part in their culture if it means toppling the system from within. Kumatora is doing exactly that by disguising herself as a ditzy waitress. She takes Lucas and Boney back to her dressing room, where they catch each other up to speed on everything that's happened over the last 3 years. She tells him about her mission with Duster to retrieve a mysterious artifact from Moso Castle, the hummingbird egg. Duster was able to escape with it, but hadn't been seen since, until now, as a bass player with seemingly no memory of his past life. In exchange, Lucas tells her about Tazmili's transformation into a pigmask-controlled state. By connecting these dots, they realize just how tight the army's grip is around not just Tazmili village, but the Nowhere Islands as a whole. With that in mind, Lucas makes a goal for himself. I want to become stronger. Sound familiar? It's what Claus said right before vanishing. But where Claus lashed out, Lucas turns inward. It's a subtle way of reinforcing their mirrored personalities at the halfway point of the story. Ultimately, Duster leaves the band life and a stylish afro behind after Lucas beats them in rock paper scissors. And now, the core group has been assembled, something of a surrogate family for Lucas that shares his mission of taking the Pigmask army down. The only memory Duster has is hiding the hummingbird egg inside of an abandoned clayman, so that's where they head first. But of course, it takes off the moment a convenient lightning strike revives it. Here, Lucas discovers the source of the lightning, a massive pigmask tower designed to strike down on rebel homes. Which means retrieving the egg involves heading deeper into enemy territory. That turns out to not be a problem, however, because Lucas ends up being mistaken for the army's commander. They even hand him a uniform and a car to chase down the runaway clayman.
My legs!
I'll hold off on the implications of Lucas wearing the commander's clothes for now, but this mission marks a major turning point for his development. It's the first time he's truly connected with people outside his family. Lucas has gone from a lonely reject to someone willing to trust a group of strangers, besides his dog of course. And what a trust-building exercise this is. Hiding in plain sight among the very people who took everything from him. On the surface, the group is helping Duster find the hummingbird egg. But for Lucas, this journey is about something deeper. Realizing he doesn't have to face his pain alone anymore. By trusting others, he's learning that strength doesn't mean carrying everything on his own. It's something that can grow through connection. When the group finally retrieves the egg, Duster's memory miraculously returns, but they're forced to keep pretending when they're taken straight to Thunder Tower. At the top, Lucas and his friends destroy the generator that powers the tower, marking their first major victory against the army. As the tower crumbles, they manage to grab onto a ship. That's where they get their first glimpse of the real commander. The truth, as we'll come to learn, is devastating. The commander is Claus, ripped apart and mechanically reconstructed as a weapon, just like the many chimeras Lucas fought on his journey so far. He may not even qualify as human anymore. He's been reduced to just another tool in the army's arsenal. But what makes this moment so powerful is that Lucas doesn't know any of this yet. When he puts on the commander's uniform, he wasn't just carrying his grief anymore, he was wearing it. And even without realizing that, he still found the strength to help Duster and destroy the tower. But that strength is about to be tested. When the ship finally shakes them loose, Lucas wakes up in an endless field of sunflowers, Hinawa's favorite. After everything that's happened, the calmness almost doesn't feel real. The clouds even drift lazily in a dreamlike trance. Despite being gone, Hinawa's presence here is vast, almost overwhelming. It takes Lucas walking a few moments before her spirit finally appears, softly calling out to him. And after reuniting with Boney, her spirit leads them deeper into the field. For a moment, they even look at each other. Lucas tries to approach, but she turns back around. It's an impossible reunion, but he follows her nonetheless. Eventually, her spirit hovers out of reach, over the edge of a cliff. And here, Lucas's endurance finally breaks. Until now, he's been able to channel his grief into strength, but everyone has their limits. In this moment, all he wants is to be with his mom again. Overwhelmed by the weight of it all, he leaps toward her. But instead of dying, he lands safely right beside Boney in a soft stack of hay. When Claus gave in to his grief, it killed him. In another world, Lucas could have met the same fate, but this wasn't a fall of despair. It was an act of trust. Hinawa was there to catch him. In fact, it was Hinawa who told her father to stack that hay in the first place. In her own quiet way, she shows him that even when he feels alone, he's never truly without love. Her spirit still guides him, and that love is what brings meaning to his pain. None of this erases what happened to Lucas, but feeling her presence again reminds him of why he keeps moving forward. She isn't gone, and neither is his purpose. That's what renews his strength, and he'll need it now more than ever, because while Lucas heals, the world around him falls apart. The Pigmask army is preparing for the final stage of their plan. The complete destruction of the world. Deep beneath the Nowhere Islands lies a creature of impossible power. A dragon said to mirror the heart of whoever awakens it. To keep that power sealed, 7 magical needles were placed across the land, guarded by and the other Magypsies. But now, the first needle has been pulled. If a person with a kind heart pulls the final needle, the world can be reborn. If it's someone filled with hatred, the world could be erased entirely. Only those with the power of PK love can pull the needles, and whether he's ready or not, Lucas was chosen to help decide which future comes to pass. Suddenly, a transceiver rings on the ground. And the voice on the other end greets him as Commander. It's Claus. The army is using the same PK love he was gifted to avenge their mother. From here on out, Lucas and Claus move in parallel, 2 halves of the same coin, one driven by love, the other driven by emptiness. Whenever they do meet face to face, they simply stare. Lucas can't recognize his brother behind the mask, and Claus has no humanity left to remember him. Something in both of them freezes time. Some faint echo of who they used to be. Of course, that doesn't stop them from clashing, with Claus having the ability to summon powerful lightning strikes to slow Lucas down. As the needle race continues, Lucas reunites with Kumatora and Duster, and even receives a gift from his father, a courage badge. Its purpose is still a mystery, but it's a reminder that Flint is still out there, still searching the mountains for Claus, and still thinking about his surviving son. With his friends by his side, Lucas eventually arrives at Tanetane Island to pull another needle. Exhausted, the group stops to eat
wild mushrooms.
Everything Lucas has been feeling since the beginning of his journey floods to the surface. He sees loved ones blaming him for the tragedies he survived. Hinawa's death, Salsa's mistreatment, manifestations of the survivor's guilt he's carried over the years. Then comes a vision of Claus as a teenager, asking to switch places with him. A hallucination of Flint questions what a needle even is, urging Lucas to go home, to step back into his old role as the weak one. Like Ness before him, he starts to wonder if he's truly capable of fulfilling his destiny. The visions eventually spiral into a nightmare. Claus demands he feel his beating heart. Flint threatens to strike him down, and inside a mailbox, he finds rotten omelets, his favorite food, the one Hinawa used to make. Her love has decayed into something horrible. But even with his insecurities taunting him, Lucas presses forward. He knows strength doesn't mean facing pain alone, and Tanetane Island is the physical manifestation of that growth. Although Claus ends up pulling this island's needle, there's still 2 left. The next time they meet, courage will decide the outcome. After the courage badge gets a good polish, it's revealed to be the Franklin badge, an item used throughout the Mother series to reflect lightning back to its source. This allows Lucas to strike Claus with his own attack. With no other choice, they finally fight. Both of them are powered by the needles they've pulled, but there's one key difference between them. Lucas grew beyond his isolation, built connections, and now fights with 3 loyal companions at his side. But Claus died in isolation. Even now, he's still fighting alone. The tragedy is that he can't change for the better like Lucas did. The army's programming won't allow it. Even Boney confirms this. Normally, he can sniff out an enemy's weakness, but he smells nothing at all from Claus. It's like when Ionia couldn't sense whether Klaus's heart was good or evil, because there's no heart left to sense. The Claus Lucas once knew is gone. After being overpowered, he retreats, and Lucas approaches the next needle. Before he pulls it, Ionia reminds the others that he won't be able to reach the final needle without their support. And with that, Lucas evens the score. 3 needles each. Only one remains, the one that will decide the fate of the world. Upon leaving the temple, Lucas gets invited to meet the leader of the Pigmask army, Porky. They board a flying limousine headed for New Pork City, the army's shining capital. The car is overflowing with luxury. A dance floor, pool, blackjack, even towers of champagne glasses, but Lucas and his friends don't touch anything. Every inch of the limo is a monument to how the army numbs its citizens, replacing genuine feeling with artificial joy. And New Pork City is no different. When they arrive, Lucas discovers it's a playground built to distract from reality. The lights never dim, the music never stops, and every Tazmily villager he once knew is already here. They trusted the army so completely that they abandoned their homes for the promise of a better life. While exploring the city, Lucas stumbles across something unsettling. Letter, the Tazmily bell ringer, imprisoned deep within the sewers. Though he never spoke a word back in the village, his silent presence was impossible to miss, until the army took over and he mysteriously vanished. Now, after all this time, he's ready to break his silence and reveal the truth he's been holding onto for years. Long ago, humanity had already destroyed the world once. A white ship fled to safety, carrying the last survivors to the Nowhere Islands, a place guarded by the slumbering dragon beneath its surface. The survivors used a hummingbird egg to erase their memories and start over out of fear that they might repeat their past mistakes. They built a new life in Tazmily Village, a peaceful, simple place that embodied the world they wished they had grown up in. But that fragile peace was shattered the moment Porky arrived. He discovered their secret and twisted it to his advantage. If they could manipulate their own memories, then they could just as easily be manipulated again. And so, the villagers accepted his new world order without question. Grotesque chimeras, bolts of punishing lightning, and an all-powerful army became normal parts of life. Lucas thought he was fighting to save the villagers, but they had already numbed themselves to pain long ago. Even presented with that truth, it doesn't stop him. In fact, Letter echoes what he already knows to be true. He's the chosen one, and he needs to pull the final needle at any cost. With a renewed sense of determination, Lucas and his friends enter the Empire Porky building. But reaching Porky himself won't be easy. He sits high above on the 100th floor, having deliberately rigged the elevator to stop at countless levels along the way. Every level is bizarre in its own right, but one stands out in particular. A laboratory containing the Nice Person Hot Spring, a series of tubes that brainwash people and animals into idolizing Porky. It's the outright refusal to feel anything at all, everything that Lucas has been fighting to prevent. But his true counterpart comes in the form of Porky himself. When they finally meet, Porky reveals his grand plan, to gather everyone together and let them all watch the world end. He sees humanity as inherently evil. They ruined the world once and chose to forget it ever happened. To him, that makes all of their lives meaningless. Not only that, he's become immortal from time traveling after Earthbound, and now sees himself as above consequence. A bored god who'd rather end existence than let the evil in humanity live on. But Lucas doesn't share that same black and white worldview. He's living proof that people can grow and change. Even if the villagers repeated their mistakes by following Porky, Lucas is prepared to break the cycle, to make everyone face reality instead of running from it. But the most painful example of Porky's apathy surfaces when he mentions Claus. He calls him my slave, my lifeless son, the one who will pull the final needle for him. That's when the alarm goes off. The final needle has been located, and Claus is closing in. While Lucas catches up, he finally speaks to his father again. That masked man. He's Claus. Lucas, he's your brother, Claus. I don't know why he's obeying this Porky guy, but as a father, I finally found the son I lost. Lucas, be happy. I finally found your brother. This revelation doesn't faze him. Maybe he already knew deep down, or maybe he simply accepted that he can't let anything stop him from pulling the final needle. Not long after, Porky appears again, bragging about his adorable little monster. This time, Lucas corrects him. That monster's name is Claus? Its name was Claus? That almost sounds like a person's name, but now it's my robot. Not even a fragment of life remains inside it. It's Master Porky's slave robot. It does whatever I say. It acts on my will alone. It's my double. No amount of technology can overpower Lucas's will. Defeated, Porky seals himself inside the absolutely safe capsule, a device that ensures nothing can ever harm him again. But once inside, he can never leave. In other words, Porky gave up his right to change anything ever again, or to be changed himself. Finally, the brothers come face to face once again. Claus incapacitates Lucas's friends and goes after him alone. But this isn't some grand battle of good versus evil. Lucas refuses to fight back. Claus strikes him again and again, and all Lucas can do is just stand there and endure the pain. It feels contradictory. He's paralyzed in the same way that he was as a child, and he's not supposed to be letting anything stop him from pulling the needle. Yet, standing his ground is actually the strongest thing he's ever done. Fighting back would prove Porky right, that Claus is a monster meant to be dealt with, but Lucas knows in his heart that anyone can change. That's when Hinawa's spirit returns to help. She tries to remind Claus of who he once was, but he doesn't listen. Instead, he prepares another powerful attack. Flint jumps in front of Lucas, taking the full hit himself. Barely able to stand, Flint begs Claus to remember his father in the same way that he never forgot his son. But it doesn't work. He takes another blow protecting Lucas and collapses to the ground. Seeing his father defeated, Lucas lashes out, but Hinawa stops him. It's a reminder to not lose himself to pain, the same mistake Flint and Klaus made. The turning point comes when she projects a memory for them to see. Lucas and Klaus as infants. I bet they'll accomplish things together that they couldn't alone. I'm sure they'll argue a lot too, and I can see them helping each other out when they need it. For once, instead of grieving for Hinawa, we feel her grief, the sorrow of a mother who knows that future can never come true, and that's what finally reaches Klaus. In the background, the Mother 3 love theme plays, but with Porky's mechanical instruments layered in. It's proof that he's still in there, fighting back against the programming. Lucas hesitates again. As Klaus gazes at him from behind the mask, he just wants to cry. After years of carrying pain, he's ready to let it all out. Hinawa speaks one last time. Klaus, come to your mother. You must be so exhausted. Come here, Klaus. It resonates with him. Klaus removes his mask, revealing his face for the first time in years. Now, he can finally make his own choices again. He chooses to fire an intense bolt of lightning at Lucas's Franklin badge, and when it reflects back, he willingly takes the full force of the blast himself. He staggers forward, embracing Lucas. Through broken words, he apologizes for running away, for everything he's done. He reassures Lucas that he's going to be with their mother, before dying peacefully in his arms. Lucas gently lays his brother to rest, but there's no time to process anything. Lucas puts his life and all the lives that believe in him on the line and pulls the final needle from the ground. At first, the ground shakes like usual, but as the dragon wakes up, the entire Nowhere Islands crumble apart. The ground splits into deep cracks, meteors fall from the sky, volcanoes erupt, and tornadoes form over the ashen landscape. For a moment, it feels like Porky's wish came true. And then, silence. Darkness. When we finally hear voices again, they're familiar. Everyone Lucas met along the way speaks out to us. They're all alive. The dragon didn't destroy the world, it rebuilt it. We don't get to see this new world. All we can do is trust their reassurance that they'll be okay. The Nowhere Islands were shaped into a false utopia, a place where the sins of humanity could be forgotten. By waking the dragon, Lucas brought everyone back to reality, a new beginning where they can finally move forward without forgetting the past. Lucas teaches us that we shouldn't suppress our pain and guilt. Feeling them, living with them, is what allows us to grow into the people we're meant to be. Thanks so much for joining me on this emotional ride. If you liked this video, be sure to check out my previous analysis on Ness. Until next time, keep it real and have a good one.